All right, so on this video, we are working on getting the rear suspension figured out. It's been a bit of a while, obviously, since our last video. Big thing being is trying to figure out some of the engineering solutions needed. We kind of went back and forth with a couple ideas, and this is kind of the solution that I think is going to work. The first thing that you'll notice is that where the suspension is, if we try to actually put it on the outside of here, it's very close to where the drive shaft is going to be, and it's going to interfere. Whereas the actual Miata, we measured the distance from the top hats, and where it was on the Miata, it's actually closer to being along the, having this top part of the top hat aligned up with the frame. So my solution was that we're going to notch the frame. Obviously that sounds a little bit sketchy. Good thing about it though is that this back part of the frame only supports the bed, but we are going to add that strength back in. And a big way we're going to do that is using a 6-inch diameter piece of pipe that is actually a 1/4 inch thick. I only needed 3/16, but the metal supply had this on clearance, so I took advantage. So what we did is we took this and we turned it into this. And what this will do is when we notch the frame, we'll be able to weld the back side of here onto this side of the frame and then encapsulate it back on. Now the next step was figuring out the top mount. So what I did was I designed it in CAD, made a template to basically be cut to fit out of a 6-inch plate to fit onto the top hat of the actual shock. So starting with a flat piece of 6-inch by 6-inch steel, we ended up getting to about here. Now this worked pretty well, except for we started having issues trying to drill through the center of this. It was taking forever and destroying the tool, so in the end we said screw it, have a better solution, which is send cut send. So I sent it in, got both of the rear top mounts done, as well as got the front ones done. When we eventually get there, you can see it straps nicely in place. And then if I take this, it slots nicely in there. So what we can do is once we get this tube welded in, we can position the suspension, get it at the angle we want, tack it in, and then fully weld it. So the next thing that we need to get figured out now that we have our mount cut as well as our top plate is we're gonna actually need to notch the frame. So what we're gonna do is find the center line for this top mount of the shock and then figure out where we need to align this to mark onto the frame where we need to cut. So now we have the frame all trimmed up. As you can see, our nice piece of round that we cut here fits in here nicely. This we will work to get in place, line it up on the bottom, and then we're gonna tack weld it in first to get us started, drop the shock back in it with the new top mount plate and tack that in, make sure that everything is lined up, and then we're gonna fully weld it. Joe has gone ahead and tack welded this in place. We didn't record it because I had to hold it for him because we didn't have any good way to do that. But next up, what we're going to do is we're going to do these inside welds here because we're not going to be able to get to those once we get the plate in place. All right, so now we got this welded on. We welded up this and the inside welds. We went through and hit it with the grinder just to clean up the welds, especially on the inside, so that way the plate doesn't get caught on anything. So the next step is, this is from the donor Miata. Basically, this was the bottom of the frame rail where the rear subframe would mount onto. So the nice thing about having this is I can get the measurement basically from this edge on the bottom here to the bottom edge of the rail, which comes out to be about 2¼ inches. So what's nice about that is I can now measure up from where our subframe is here and locate it onto the inside of this frame, and that's where we need to weld our plate. So we got our suspension in place. Here's the top plate. We measured up to figure out where it needs to be. Now we're gonna throw a couple tacks on it, drop out the strut, and then finish weld it.
Alrighty, so we have finished welding one side of the rear suspension. We tacked everything in place, then we mock fitted the suspension. We have 4 points of contact on this round piece right here on the outside and the inside, and now we've successfully welded the inside. It's not pretty, but given the environment, it's gonna have to do for right now. All right, stick around for more.
All right, so if you notice, I look a bit different, a little bit less beardy, a little bit different clothing. As you can see, we finished up the welding and getting everything done for this. We still need to do the back side of it and clean up these welds at some point. And pretty much we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're not gonna film it just because it's gonna be a little bit of rinse and repeat what we did on this side. Now, it has been a little bit since we've worked on this side. Part of it is being that we have a couple of projects that are going to be coming up on the channel. We're going to be taking a break from the truck for a little while. We've got stuff for my Miata coming up, we've got stuff for Joe's Miata coming up, and we even have a new project to announce. So we hope you keep watching. If you want to follow along with this project or some of the other projects we have, give us a subscribe and give this video a like, and we'll see you next time. The CB3 Fabrication Hardtops for the ND Generation Miata are now available. If you are interested in ordering a hardtop, go to CB3Fabrication.com. Our friends over at Blackbird Fabworx have recently released their GT3 style roll bar for the ND Generation Miata. The CB3 Fabrication Hardtop was designed in conjunction with Blackbird Fabworx to make sure it fit the GT3 bar with no modifications. To celebrate, we are offering a 10% discount to anyone who orders a CB3 Fabrication Hardtop and a GT3 roll bar. And if you would be interested in learning how to drive on a racetrack, Tract offers driving clinics as well as providing several sessions for more experienced drivers. Go to tract.llc to learn more.